What's going on, guys? It's Tony with Urban Girl Scout Media, living the dream as always, and today we're going to do a set preview on the Ravnica Allegiance set to come out here in a few short weeks. Let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to start off with the creatures. Thought that would be the best place to start this little shindig. So let's jump into our first page. So let's look at the first three creatures on the board, and this was a very creature-heavy set in terms of what really stood out to me. So let's start off with this white guy here, Tithe Taker, and he is a 2-drop, 1 colorless, 1 white human soldier that is a 2/1. During your turn, spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast, and abilities your opponents activate cost 1 more to activate unless they're mana abilities. He also has one of the new hot abilities in this set, Afterlife 1, which is just when he dies you get a 1/1 flyer. So what I like is that it's cheap early game, helps protect you, and if it is killed, it does give you that creature afterwards. Super value in my opinion. Up next we have Mesmerizing Benthid. This is a 4/5 octopus, and really I'm interested in those O2 illusions that it's putting in. Whenever it blocks, something doesn't untap, and as long as you have an illusion, this has got hexproof. The octopus does. So what I like about this is illusions are kind of looking for something a little bit bigger, in my opinion, to take them to the next level. And the modern format, they have some great stuff, but at 5 with the 2 blockers, it's dangerous. This is a dangerous card at 5. And then up next we have Pestilent Spirit, 3 caster, 2 colorless, 1 black. This is a 3/2 spirit with menace and death touch, but what I really like is that the instants and sorceries have death touch. So it changes a lot of things, and I think Rakdos is going to be a nightmare to deal with. Also think back to a few sets ago when we had instants and sorceries gain lifelink. Good start here. Let's get on to the next page. So our next page is going to be Immolation Shaman. It's our red creature that really drew my attention. He is a 2-drop, 1 colorless, 1 red. He is a 1/3. I really don't care about the creature type. What I care about is that, just like with Harsh Mentor, this is another cheap little thing that red has to kind of help lock down or slow down the game and punish their opponents. So it reads, whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature, or land that isn't a mana ability, Immolation Shaman deals 1 damage to that player, and then it has a ability of its own for 3 colorless and 2 red. You can give it +3/+3 in menace till end of turn. So it's going to be playable in a lot of different formats. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it's going to be an interesting play. I definitely have already started to think of a few decks I can put it in. Up next we have End Raise Forerunners. So this is one of the most expensive cards in the set, probably the most expensive card I have here on the countdown or the listing of cards I really enjoyed. So it's 5 colorless, 3 green for a 7/7 boar. What it comes down to is Vigilance, Trample, Haste, but when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get that +2/+2 Vigilance, Trample. Huge play if you think about just green in formats like EDH, mono green, or tokens, things like that. Be interesting to see what happens here with this in terms of the standard format. I don't really see it being a big time hit there, but definitely an EDH card. And then next is Hydroid Criasis something, I don't even know. Jellyfish Hydra Beast. This thing is just insane. It is an X, 1 green, 1 blue. Let's look at the main stuff. It's a flying trample creature, and it enters with +1/+1 counters based on what you pay into it, but then you get half of what you pay into it in life and drawn cards. So if you do 6, you're going to get 3. If you do 4, you're going to get 2, so on and so forth. just a disgusting card. Lots of potential in different areas. The one thing that does suck is that you got to remember, once it gets on the field, it dies to a lot of different things depending upon how big it is. But man, that flying trample makes it makes it absolutely devastating. Alright, so let's jump over to the enchantments from this set that really stood out. First off is Smothering Tithe. So whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If that player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. So for this enchantment, it's 3 colorless and 1 white, and after that, it just does its own work. I really like cards like this. It's going to be great in the EDH setting, and I'm excited to see what happens standard-wise when brewers get a hold of it. But in the EDH format, that's going to pay for itself quick. So whether you're slowing down your opponent, or you get that jump from the token, from the artifact token, it reminds me a lot of Rhystic Study. So definitely a nice little jump there. Up next is going to be Guardian Project. So this is another 3 colorless, but this time a green. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it doesn't have the same name as another creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, draw a card. Go and just throw this right into EDH, and we'll move on to the next thing. Captive Audience, so 5 colorless, a black and a red. This is an enchantment that basically, I mean, how much you look at the card itself, it comes into the battlefield under an opponent's control of your choice, and then they have to start choosing things that really are just unpleasant. Each turn is a different one, and then we go from there. I'm really intrigued when Wizards puts these kinds of cards out because I think it's a different feel on the game, and there's not a ton of them. So kind of going with these enchantments like sagas or these modes where it's one turn after another, I really enjoy the variants. This one though, with it being Rakdos, is a little expensive. But with it being Rakdos, I thought that was really cool the way that they changed the game and made the next 2 enchantments, kind of different for the game. Cinder Vines, it's 1 green, 1 red. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cinder Vines deals 1 damage to that player. And then for 1, you can sacrifice Cinder Vines, you can destroy target artifact or enchantment, and Cinder Vines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. I love this. I love the fact that it's early game, and the fact that you're going to be able to play this. I think a lot of different decks and a lot of different formats are going to look at this and think about if they can use it to kind of hurt non-creature decks that they run into. I cannot wait to try and get my hands on a set of these sooner, hopefully, than later. And then we have Ethereal Absolution. 4 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Creatures you control get the old +1/+1. Creatures your opponents control get the -1/-1. You exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, you create a 1/1 black and white spirit creature token with flying. That costs you 2, 1 white and 1 black. So, a few things about this card. 1, the pump and minus, huge in my opinion, especially when you think about the fact that it's just creatures. It's not multicolored like you see on Glass of the Guild pack here on the right. It's not multicolored, just straight up creatures. So I think that helps a lot. The ability itself, I think, is pretty cool. I'm glad they didn't make it the full 6 like it is with the converted mana costs. And then, of course, we come up to Glass of the Guild pack, just 2-drop, pump up those multicolored. I have no complaints here. Thought it was pretty cool. Just wanted to, pull an artifact out that I thought really was pretty decent. Make your opponent choose some pretty different and pretty difficult scenarios to have to deal with. Alright, so let's go on to just some random cards that throughout the set, pretty cool, pretty badass. And I'm just gonna really do the higher end cards. Not a lot of low end or common cards on this list. Actually, I don't really think there's any. I may have removed a couple of them. First is Mass Manipulation. Two big old X's there, but then 4 blue. Basically, you can gain control of X target creatures and/or planeswalkers. I think that's absolute powerful. Just absolute power sauce. Love it. Can't wait to get my hands on them. EDH, pump up a bunch of different mana rocks out there and take control of shit. Next we have another X spell, but this time it's just going to be 1 X and 2 red, so basically half the initial starting cost. Electro Dominance, and this one reads, based on what you pay in an X, it deals that damage to any target, and then you may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So you can kind of rifle out something heavy on the back end of this card. Love it. Next is Kaya's Wrath. About time we got a Wrath card back, and this time you actually get benefits for losing your creatures. That's always been something that you could hold against a 4-drop Wrath card, is that you do lose your creatures. Even though this is 2 white, 2 black, I like the fact that you're going to gain life equal to the creatures you're losing. So a lot of different ways to get that mana. If you do have to lose creatures, at least now you can figure out a way to get some of that life. Alright, up next, Final Payment. That is a 1 white, 1 black instant. An additional cost is you either pay 5 life or you sacrifice a creature or enchantment, but you get to destroy a creature, and that is an instant speed. I love it. It's a common. I thought it deserved to be on here. Absolutely. That's one of the cards that I will be going to buy a couple different sets of, because I just think that it is just beautiful. Prime Speaker, Vanifair. Listen, it's on here because it's getting talked about a lot. It's the birthing pod of this set. Pretty cool. Let's see what happens to it. Ravager Worm. This guy's pretty cool. That riot ability is nice. I like what they've done with it. The +1 or the haste. I like that Gruul is the one that's getting it. Pretty aggressive tribe. I like the ability when it comes in, and the 4/5 isn't bad. Mythic slot felt a little strong for this, but maybe that's just my opinion. To, offset that, of course. Gotta send a shout out here because no Ravnica set would be complete without a set of Shocklands. I love that they continue to print these. I love that they continue to go to Ravnica. I think Shocklands need to be cheap for the community to get their hands on. Just absolutely great. And the art isn't bad. I think Stomping Ground's pretty cool. Hallowed Fountain, a little bit different this time around. Breeding Pool wasn't my favorite. And then Godless Shrine, I always loved the art. Alright, and then last but not least, we get 3 Planeswalkers in this set. We get Kaya, we get Domri, we get Dovin. All 3 of them pretty powerful in my opinion. I like Domri the most. He does bring the chaos. She does bring the chaos. It brings the chaos. They bring the chaos. Either way around it, all 3 guilds that these represent look pretty powerful and pretty strong. Kaya, I'm glad to see her in a regular set that she's at that 3-drop. I know that exiling a permanent with 1 or less mana cost isn't a huge attractor, but I still think it's pretty powerful. And then Dovin, I thought, he had some good abilities. I like his ultimate. Like I said, all 3 of them. I'm a huge Planeswalker fan, so if I had to pick between the 3, it's Domri, but all 3 of them really cool, really powerful, and overall I don't have any complaints about what their mana cost is, or what the abilities are either way, or how much they cost. Overall, I thought it was pretty fair distribution, and for what we're getting now in Magic, this felt like a really good mix of planeswalkers here to highlight. Alright, so that'll do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. We didn't really look at too many cards. Really, I just wanted to pick out some of the creatures that really stood out to me. A couple of enchantments I really liked, some instants and sorceries that were pretty awesome. You know we gotta throw the shout out to those lands and of course the planeswalkers. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoy the set. If you like what you see or you would like to see these videos formatted a different way, maybe I thought about maybe doing like a most underrated or potentially overrated card, which wouldn't be hard for me at all. I think that Angel that comes in and reduces damage to keep you at 1 life is a little overrated, but that's just my opinion. Overall, though, good set. Way to go, Wizards. And, you know, hopefully we keep this direction going. I could live on Ravnica.